I actually love when we get the chance to see Magnet Warriors actually doing something. We actually have dragons as well, and really just a whole lot of interesting goodies today. Don't be like 30% of you that have not smashed the ever-living crap out of that subscribe button. Smash it so you guys don't miss out on more awesome content. Yes, that is, I kid you not, the actual showcasing of what happens when we can play Magnet Warriors in our AntiMeta deck. The biggest thing that I guess always makes me excited for this is these are all rocks. The rock synergy that you actually get with the other Magnet Warriors is kind of hilarious. It's not really something that I feel like people explore all that much or care to explore, but the fact that this reverse synergy does in fact exist in here is what really kind of opens up the door to the hilarity that is the current situation for this deck. I really wish we could enjoy this a little bit more. I mean, the Block Dragon does definitely make this deck what it actually is. So, we have triple copies of AntiMeta Analyzer with 1 copy of Dragite. We have triple copies of AntiMeta Researcher with 2 copies of Seeker. We have 2 copies of Alpha, the Electromagnetic Warrior, with triple copies of Ash Blossom and Joy Spring. 1 copy of Berserkion. The fact that you can actually see this come up is great. We have 2 copies of Beta, the Electromagnetic Warrior, 2 copies of Block Dragon, 2 copies of the additional extender for the Earth monsters. Then we have 1 copy of Delta, and then we have triple copies of Espelon, the Magnet Warrior, and then 2 copies of Gamma, the Electromagnet Warrior. And then we have, of course, 1 Gigantus, because the fact you can search for this and actually continue combo lines with this is pretty good. We triple Maxi with 1 Nibiru, 2 copies of AntiMeta Science, 2 Called by the Grave, 1 Cruise Out Designator, and triple copies of Infinite Permanence. Down in the extra, give the 1 Underworld Goddess, your 1 Avermax, your 1 Nightmare Phoenix, your 1 IP, your 1 Apo, 1 Gorgonic Guardian, 1 Gallant Grant with 1 Abyss Dweller, 1 Xing Ying, 1 Naturia Beast, 1 Borreload Savage, 1 Black Rose, 1 Baron, 1 Repite, and 1 Dragite here, wrapping up your Rock Electromagnet deck. Next up is Dragons. This has kind of been floating around a little bit on the internet here, and I just love the fact that you have so much synergy here based on the interactions of all the different dragon engines. You know, the fact that you actually have access to Blaster with Tempest now in the same deck is actually incredibly cool. So just think about like the little combo lines and things that you can do, especially like, you know, Pile Arm Dragon existing in this deck. That's really cool. So we have 1 copy of Armed Dragon Thunder level 5, triple copies of Ash Blossom and Joy Spring. We have 1 Zephyros the Elite with 1 Blaster. We have 1 Burner. We have 2 copies of Arma Mistletoe with 2 copies of the Gusarmea. And we have 1 Legatus with triple copies of Remus, 2 copies of Droll and Lockbird with 1 Fenrir. We have 1 Rice Heart with 1 Unicorn with a 1 Quackimera Draco. We have 2 copies of Lightning, the Dragon Ruler of Drafts. We have triple copies of Maxi, 2 copies of the Pile Arm Dragon with 2 copies of Red Rose Dragon. We have 1 Red MD with 2 copies of Rox Rose, 1 copy of the Scareclaw Kashtira. It's kind of cool. We have 1 Tempest. We have 1 Basil Rose Shoot, 2 Called by the Grave, 1 Crossout Designator, 1 Dragon Ravine, 1 Dragoon Glow, 1 Birth, and 1 copy of the Race Sloth. The fact that you just have the additional like level 7 synergy with this is what you care about. We have 1 Striker Dragon, 1 Protector Whelp, 2 Heavenly Spheres, 1 Romulus with 1 Apo, 1 copy of the Darkest Dragon Doom Rider, 1 Atum with 1 Ruddy Rose, 1 Gatorge, 1 A Bread Hair, 2 copies of Bysteel Das Peter, 1 Baron, and 1 AFD. Then we have triple copies of DD Crow, 1 Droll, 2 copies of Ghost Ogre with 1 Quackimera Draco, triple copies of the Divine Carnate, 1 Space Rock, 2 Cosmic Cycle, 1 Feather Duster, and 1 Red Boo here, wrapping up your Dragons. Next up here, we have AntiMeta. Now, the thing that makes this deck go around here is Morganite here. Yeah, you can't activate monster effects in hand. You can draw 2 cards instead of 1 during your normal draw phase. And you conduct 2 normal summons per turn. Now, in a perfect world here, where you open up Inspector Border plus Banish of the Radiance or Barrier Statue plus Inspector Border with the Morganite, you are just free to play this, get your additional normals, and then you're going to get 2 draws during your next turn, which is incredible, by the way. And then, you know, you have the Egyptian Gods line for defensive options for this deck. It's actually a pretty interesting concept for how much you can get off the ground with this. So we have triple copies of Banish of the Radiance, triple copies of Barrier Statue of Torrent with triple copies of Inspector Border. We have triple copies of Card of Demise with 2 copies of Pot of Desires. We have triple copies of Pot of Duality, triple copies of Morganite with 1 Blazing Mirror Force. We have triple compulsory evacuation device with 1 Macrocosma. We have triple copies of Metal Reflex Line with 1 Phantom Knight Wings. We have 2 Ring of Destruction, triple copies of Solemn Judgment, triple copies of Solemn Steve Reich, 2 copies of Storming Mirror Force, and 1 copy of the Unending Nightmare here. During the next check, we have 1 Abramax, 1 Goki the Giant Ogre, 1 Boral Sword with 1 Boral Load. We have 1 Utopia Lightning with 1 Utopia. We have 1 Cheng Ying with 1 Omega. We have 1 Last Warrior, 1 2 Exterio, 1 copy of Eldritch the Golden Matter Lord, triple copies of the Egyptian Gods line. We also have triple Maxi, 2 Sphere Mode, 1 Feather Duster, triple Exceed Encore, 2 Dark Bribe, 2 Evenly Matched, and 2 copies of Waking the Dragon here. Wrapping up a little bit more defensive pile of option tree here for you today. Good stuff. Next up here is Code Talkers with Salamangreat cards. So basically Salamangreat, Code Talker, good stuff. One thing I will give the OCG for this deck is how much splashability can you drop into a deck for this to actually have synergy. And that's kind of what you're getting here for sure, is like actual good value out of your cards. So we have triple copies of Ash Blossom and Joy Spring with 1 DD Crow. We have 2 copies of Effect Veiler with 1 Ghost Spell. We have 1 Ghost Ogre with triple copies of Lady Debug. We have triple copies of Circular with 1 Dimeter. We have 1 Nabla with 1 Sigma. We have 1 Subtraction with triple copies of Maxi. Still gotta respect the amount of draw power. We have 1 Nibiru with 1 Foxy. We have 2 copies of Gazelle. 1 copy of Jack Jaguar. 1 Spinny with 2 copies of Called by the Grid. 1 Crossout Designator. 2 copies of Silent Mining. Your 1 Salamangreat Circle. 1 Sanctuary. 1 Talents. 2 Infinite Impermanents, 1 copy of the Superfactorial, 1 Rage, and 1 copy of Roar. So yes, still getting value off of the traps here. Down in the next trick, we have 1 Update Jammer, 1 Transcode Talker with your 1 Splash Mage. We have triple copies of Sunlight Wolf with triple copies of Balinix, 1 Lingaribo with 1 Heat Soul, 1 Access Machine, 1 Mirage Stalio, 1 Laplasan, and 1 Alan Bershin. And we have 1 copy of Lancia, 1 DD Crow, 1 Droll and Lockbird, 1 Ghost Bell, 2 copies of Cosmic Cyclone, 1 Arby's Feather Duster, 1 Lightning Storm, 1 Raigeki, 2 Thrust, 2 Dimensional Barrier, and of course, 2 evenly matched here, wrapping up just, once again, however much influx of good stuff that you can kind of fit into a deck like this to kind of get the best maximized results is actually what you're going to probably continue to see here be some of the most success. Alright, and last list here we have 60 card Fairy Tale, Necroface, Punk, Thunder Dragon, Grass Looks Greener. This would be as ye special, as I would say, for this deck. This is a lot. So triple copies of Ash Blossom and Joy Spring with 2 copies of Assault Sangron. Your 1 Collapse Serpent with 1 Steam the Cloak. 1 Druid Worm with 1 Magna Hut. We have 1 Chaos Valkyrie with 1 Destrudo. Triple copies of Fairy Tale Snow with 1 Mental Tuner. We have triple copies of Necroface. 1 copy of Deer Note. 2 copies of Foxy Tune with 2 Ogre Dance. We have triple copies of Xiamen with 1 copy of the Ret Time Reviver Emitter. 1 Merly with 1 Shayrin with 1 Lubellion. 1 Chaos Creator with triple Dragon Dark. 1 Dragonhawk with triple Dragon Matrix. We have 2 Dragon Roar with 1 Wyvern Buster. Triple Lore with your 2 Called by the Grid. 1 Card Destruction, triple Chaos Space. 2 E-Telly, 1 Foolish Barrel, your 1 Droplet. 1 Gold Sark, your 1 Left Arm. 2 Grass Looks Greener. 1 Thunder Dragon Fusion, 1 Tuning. Then we got the 1 Underworld Goddess. 1 Zero Boros, 1 Nightmare Phoenix. 1 IP with 1 Apo. 1 Zombie Vampire. 1 Shooting Riser with 1 Psyche and Punisher. 1 Coral Dragon with 1 Chaos Roller. 1 Bysteel Das Peter. 1 Baron. 1 Titan. 1 Colossus, and 1 Mud. Then we have 1 Droll, 1 Ghost Ogre, 1 Dogwood, 1 Divine Carnate, 1 Maxi, 1 Nibiru, 1 Sphere Mode, 1 Crossout, 1 Dark Roller, 1 Feather Duster, 1 Raigeki, 1 Thrust, 1 Evenly Matched, 1 Imperm, and 1 copy of Red Reboot here, wrapping up, well, the goodies that is this deck. So what do you guys think? Please, leave a comment down below, tell me what you guys think for this OCG's decks this week, and I'll see your beautiful faces back here later in the day, guys. Peace out. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.